Aloha, you are watching Living Delicious with Helena, and I'm so excited to bring to you again our delicious series, Die Delicious. We don't want to talk about death, especially with the word delicious in it. However, we have a special guest today, one of a kind guest who has been all over the news last few months, very highly important person in your choice of the process of dying. Dr. Robert Nathanson.
Hello.
Aloha.
Aloha to you.
I'm so excited to have you here.
Wonderful.
You have been on my list for a while, and actually I invited Bishop Silva and Josh Green and different people who didn't want to come. So I'm excited to have you.
Settled for me. Okay. Okay.
So we have seen you have been around the papers a lot, and the topic that is related to your name is dying and death with dignity. Should aid in dying be a personal choice or not? And I would like first to know, why are you around the papers? What is it about you that you are the authority on the subject?
Well, it all started with Compassion and Choices inviting me to be on a panel back in October 5th, I believe it was, and it all went from there.
So why would they invite you? What is it so special about you?
Well, I
and
closed
dying?
my little speech with the fact that I have been retired for over 10 years, but I've kept my license all that time, and it was only for one reason, and one reason only, and that was in case the Death with Dignity law passed and through the legislature, that I would be able to accommodate people in their wishes to have a peaceful death.
So if I could be a little bit rude, I would like to ask, what is the difference between accommodating people in having a peaceful death and killing people?
Well, that has been in the papers, that phrase. So you're not being rude. You're just saying what you out loud what you've read.
And what most of us think.
I'm sorry?
And what most of us people think.
Well, the thing is, ultimately, I would like, if asked by a patient, to provide a potentially lethal drug, I will write a prescription for that. The person may or may not fill the prescription. If the prescription is filled, they may or may not take it. So that, I don't see how that can be construed to mean that I'm killing anybody or that I am causing suicide, is another expression.
Yes.
So it is a matter of choice, and the patient has the choice, and they have the power in their hands to do or not to do. And we use the expression giving a patient autonomy in the decision making in end of life.
So as of today, February 2012, is it allowed? If you would do that, would you commit a crime against the law of the state of Hawaii?
According to the Attorney General, I would be. According to Catherine Tucker, who is the in the legal department of Compassion and Choices, and who has presented 3 cases related to death with dignity before the U.S. Supreme Court and has won all 3 cases, she feels that I would not be breaking the law.
So would you go to jail or not?
I don't think I would, but we'll have to see.
So you would be willing to take that risk?
Yes, I would.
And you would be willing to, in your old age, instead of being retired in Hawaii, spend your last years in jail?
Behind bars.
Yes. I can bring you nail files.
There you go. My wife has promised that she would bail me out, but I
They don't
really...
bail out murderers. You would be convicted as a murderer, isn't it?
Well, as I said, we'll have to see. Well, I think the risk is very slight.
Okay, so then let's talk about a little bit from a different perspective. Let's say I'm 89-year-old person dying from 10-year-old cancer and really suffering. I lived my life, I have children and grandchildren. I lived and I'm done. And last, whatever, 3 years I've been just lying in a bed waiting, suffering. Am I allowed as a local Hawaiian person, person who lives here, am I allowed to contact you and get any prescriptions according to current state of affairs?
Well, as I said, the Attorney General would think not, but
Would you still prescribe it?
I plan to, yes.
And is there a pharmacy that will deliver, that we can go and pick up the little drugs
Yes, there is.
here in Hawaii?
I'm only aware of one, and one is enough.
So they have right now, if somebody would have a prescription and they leave with the drug?
They may have to wait a little bit because they would order it. If I knew I was going to be writing a prescription, I would call the pharmacy and tell them that there'll be somebody coming in very soon so that they would have it. But it's possible. The point is that it is available and they could get that.
Wow. So practically, if somebody is in that condition and really sick and dying in pain, they cannot walk to the pharmacy to
That's
pick up
not a
drugs.
problem.
Who is there a certain legal person
Yeah,
who can?
all they
pick
have
up?
to do is whoever they send in their place has to have their ID, the patient's ID, and that's all that's required.
Wow. So have you ever prescribed it yet?
Not as yet.
Would you like to? You
Oh.
sound like excited about that subject.
I don't want to have the pills used. I would like them to be used as an insurance policy so that they are no longer worried to death about what might happen to them because they now have control.
Yes.
Because the medicine is in the medicine cabinet, and then if their condition gets to the point where it is intolerable, and the definition of intolerable is whatever the person thinks is intolerable. Not me, not Bishop Silva, not anybody else but the patient. And when they think its time has come, then it's available for them. So that gets rid of what we call toxic anxiety.
Exactly. That's one of the questions I wrote to ask you. I actually wrote this: toxic anxiety gone. That's what you wrote. That's what you said in the magazine, in the article. You said people live longer without toxic anxiety when toxic anxiety is removed. What is toxic anxiety?
Well, it's a term that I made up, so I don't know.
You own the term.
It's whatever I say it is. No,
Yes.
People when they're terminal, a lot of them, that's all they can think of is what's going to happen to me. Am I going to have a metastasis to some place? Am I going to be in agony? What? And you ask people that have gone through it, and everybody's death is different. Everybody's life is different. So that itself is very anxiety provoking, and at least if they know that they have the wherewithal to change that, that gets rid of that anxiety. And we think it isn't automatic that they will live longer, but there have been cases in Oregon where it is legal, and the patients are in hospice. The hospice nurse will say to the spouse, you know, your husband or your wife, whatever, is a changed person since we got the medicine, because she hasn't eaten for 2 weeks hardly, and now she's eating like a horse, and she wasn't interested in doing anything, and now she watches television and she welcomes visitors, and it's just a whole new ball game. So we think that those people actually can live a little longer than what they originally thought.
Yeah, and the quality of their last few days or weeks can be much higher.
Exactly.
As an emotional freedom coach, I have seen with so many people that, as you said, toxic. Anxiety is so toxic for the body.
Exactly.
It shrinks the entire energy, it's just gone. Yeah, that's why I was wanting to see if we are on the same page. I'm like, oh my God, I like this guy.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, you're welcome. So I'd like to know about specificity of today in Hawaii. Somebody wants to do it. Are you the only person who can prescribe? Are the pills the only way? Can we have injections? Are there any other physicians who can prescribe? What about other islands?
Yes.
Good. Yes for
How's
everything.
that?
So please now,
Okay.
specifically.
Well, right now I'm the one that has made the most noise, and but yes, there are other doctors that can prescribe. Any doctor that wants to prescribe can do that. The problem isn't whether they can. The question is, will they? Are they willing? And right now, there aren't too many doctors that want to do that because it hasn't been made clear as to the legality of this.
Yes.
So, but there are some doctors who will come out and write a prescription.
Do you know averagely, approximately the number of how many doctors we have here on Oahu and how many we have on different islands?
No, I really, we're formulating this. I don't know, is my name show up on the television screen? Because there's a...
Yes, there is your name. Physician?
Okay, but underneath it says Physicians Advisory Council for Aid in Dying.
Yes.
And that's what we're trying to do, is to get more physicians to belong to this as an advisory group to answer some of the questions that you bring up. This is a new situation.
Yes.
And
I think those questions
some
are
of your
very, very important, because at this point right now, when I'm not under any pressure from any disease, I can think in a different ways. There is no panic. So we can kind of put everything out there and then see what are our choices, instead of, oh my God, I have to take something. So therefore, I think those questions are important, and to always have people who are willing and capable of answering them to potential patients.
I believe it's the 25th of this month, we're having a training for people that would volunteer to be able to answer those questions. And if they go online, compassionandchoices.org,
Yes.
then those questions will be answerable at that time.
Yes, so let's say I'm interested in dying with dignity. Where do I go? Compassion and Choices, what else?
That's about it for right now.
Okay, and then they will connect me to you.
Yes.
And if it's not yet clear, if the law, it's not yet passed clearly, and it is since 1909, actually, let's actually present the 1909 law, so viewers who have not been following us before, they know what we are talking about. The 1909 law was written by Father Damian, isn't it?
Oh.
No?
No.
By who?
No. It's written by the legislature back in 1909.
And was that connected to Father Damian and Molokai leprosy people?
Oh, okay. The original idea, as
let's
you can
read.
see where it says that if a duly licensed physician pronounces a person affected with any disease hopeless and beyond recovery and gives a written certificate to that effect to the person or the persons attending, nothing herein shall forbid any person from giving or furnishing any remedial agent or measure when so requested or on behalf of the affected person. So this went passed in 1909, but at that time, the three leading diseases that would make people hopeless and beyond recovery were leprosy, otherwise known as Hansen's disease,
Yes.
TB, and I was very surprised to read this one, asthma.
Really?
Yeah, so
Wow, people are dying of asthma?
they
Hawaii?
probably died of pneumonia, but originally because of the asthma. And this was pre-antibiotic era. So I think what your Father Damien thing is because of the involvement of leprosy. But he didn't introduce the law.
So he probably contacted somebody to make it happen, to make it legal. How did it happen?
Possibly.
There was a committee of few people who were dealing with dying
Yes.
public, dying population, and therefore the law came up. Or
Well,
how do we know?
what they decided.
We need a historian on the show.
What they decided was, we read the minutes of the legislature, and on the third reading of the law, they originally had those diseases mentioned, and they decided that it didn't make any difference what the disease was. The important thing was the person was hopeless and beyond recovery, which in today's language we would say they were terminal.
Yes.
And once the person was deemed to be terminal and the doctor would certify that, then any measure could be taken. And our opposition finds fault with the word remedial. And they say, you look up remedy in the dictionary and it means a cure.
Yes.
Well, that's one of the definitions, but the other definition is palliative, meaning to comfort. And how can remedial mean cure when the person is said to be incurable?
Yes.
So it doesn't make sense. But more important, in my opinion, is not so much whatever remedial means, whatever you think it means, it doesn't make any difference, because what I've got underlined here is that when it's requested by or on behalf of the affected person. So that means if the person wants to be cured and is willing to take a risk on some medicine that has never been tried before,
Yes.
then fine, they can do that according to the 1909 law. But if the person isn't interested in curing but wants comfort, then this law gives it to them. And so basically, this law is the first in the country to be a dying patient's Bill of Rights, because it allows whatever it is that they want, no one can take it away from them, or they can give it without being fearful of going to jail.
Yes.
Or being punished in any other way, having
hell.
their license taken away or whatever.
Okay, so in 1909, what were they using?
I don't know as this law has ever been implemented. I have no evidence of that.
So this can just be the law that nobody has ever implemented. This was just to protect physicians and give comfort to dying patients.
Exactly.
Wow, that's very kind law, actually.
Well,
That's
I think
very kind.
the other important thing is a lot of people have criticized this. They say, well, 1909 was way, way before statehood, so it isn't pertinent now. Well, this law has been reviewed by the legislature in, I may be a little off on my dates, but 1965, 2008, and 2010. It was reviewed, and as far as I know, not a comma was, there may not be a comma in there, but anyway, no changes were made.
There is no comma here.
A lot of other things were deleted, but this is in the, by the way, this is Hawaii Revised Statute 453-1, which is the first paragraph in what the legislature sets up to be the parameters for practicing medicine. So it's that important.
We had a show with Robert when he said this is the very first law, and because nobody reads medical law, nobody saw it.
That's right.
And he was sharing about his wife who died of
that's
cancer,
right.
and she wanted to take this option.
Yeah,
and she was really looking forward, but nobody knew.
Exactly.
Until it was recently discovered.
That's right.
Rediscovered, so to say. Wow. Okay, so this is the first interview that you are having in person. Lately, you have been famous and popular out in magazines. There is a buzz about you because you are doing something so-called risky in order to help people, but still you are holding a very clear state of mind. Your presence is very clear. Everybody can just write article and have it edited. Your presence shows professionalism, shows calmness. When I look at you, I feel like, oh, if I'm dying, I could die next to you. Like a bad manners, I feel that energy from you. And speaking about that, dying, in your opinion, how is that related to patient doctor, patient family, and patient government?
I'm not 100% sure what you're asking.
Last time when we had a show, we were talking about the poll that has been out there, and people were requesting or voting for government being out
yes,
of
my
their
understanding is,
dying beds.
I think it's over 90% of the poll takers wanted the government out of the decision-making process.
Yeah.
So,
what do you think of that, being a physician for so long?
There's no question about it. And I've been introduced as a co-founder of Hospice Hawaii.
Yes.
And that's one of the tenets of, basic tenet of hospice care is trying to do whatever the patient wants to have done. And so that's just part of my being is, is trying to facilitate that.
That's exactly what I want to ask you for the second segment of this show. I would like to talk about your engagement in hospices and difference when it comes to dying, about hospices, hospitals, and just a pill, all these options. So I would like to inform our viewers that next show is about that. And if we could close this show with some words of wisdom, some words of support, words of encouragement for people, with your experience, with everything through this Death with Dignity research, as well as your work in hospice, what would that be? What could you share with our public?
Well, I think I've already referred to that, and in the article that was in the paper a few days ago, I said that at the time that I give, handsome picture.
Who is that guy? Looks like you.
That when I hand the prescription to the person,
yes.
I'm going to say, I hope that you never need it.
Yeah.
And that's because my whole thing is to give peace of mind to the patient. I can't cure their disease, and I think this is one of the problems why doctors have a hard time. They take it personally as a failure when somebody becomes terminal, and they shut down and they don't want to deal with it.
Don't you think they would feel guilty? They would carry guilt with them if they have to prescribe the pill and somebody die. I mean, somebody ends because of the pill.
That well, okay, that that's one of the criticisms is that we would be causing a suicide.
Yes.
And number one, it isn't suicide because suicide in the famous to be or not to be, should I die or shouldn't I die, you have a choice and the person thinks that because their sweetheart left them, that they now are left with should I die or not. Well, the person that's terminal, that isn't a choice. They are going to die. And the choice is how should I die and possibly when should I die. But it's not if I should die. There is no question about that. So I don't have any guilt in giving a prescription to the person. It is their choice. They can take it, and as soon as I give it to them, they could rip it up and throw it away. That's their choice. Or they can get it filled and just sit in the medicine cabinet and never take it. You're crediting me with being such a wonderful person and all that, but and knowing all this about death, and I don't know if I was terminal whether I would ever take it. I don't know. Yes. I won't know until the day that it happens.
Yes.
Because each
day
you wake up. Well,
I hope we all die surfing and making love and dancing and cooking for our grandchildren.
That's what I said in the article. I said, when I give you the prescription, when I give the patient the prescription, I'm going to say, I hope you never need to use this, because I hope that your process of dying goes well, and you die. You just don't wake up one morning, and my pills are not going to enter into that at all.
Yes. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to the second segment. See you next time. You can watch this show every Saturday on channel 49, 11:30 a.m. and every first and third Monday of the month at 6 p.m. channel 52. In the meantime, live delicious before you die delicious. Thank you so much.